service is black and white, hospitality is color. Hospitality is defined as, I thought of you before you got here. We're always checking ourselves with that hospitality definition.
Welcome back to Service First. I'm Ben Wiggins, and I'm here on behalf of Proclaim with Jay Maxwell. Jay, how you doing today?
Great, Ben. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure. We'll start with our icebreaker. What is the worst service failure that you have ever seen?
Yeah, well, one, I have to preface by saying I have a terrible memory, so I'm sure there are many others. But the one that comes to mind most recent was just a few weeks ago with a credit card company. And we had been trying to cancel our account for over a year. And I'd called, I'd emailed, I'd messaged, I'd sent in the documentation that they requested. And it was just kind of this doom loop. And so I'd wait, and then I'd do it all over again and rinse and repeat. So finally, just 2 weeks ago, they were able to cancel my account. And I didn't send anything new. It was the same stuff. And it was just not a great experience. And so anyway, it's like I would not be prone to go back to those guys, and it was pretty disappointing.
Yeah. I'm sorry that you had that experience. It seems like, I mean, one potential silver lining is back in the 90s, 2000s. I'm aging myself here a little bit, but it seemed like that kind of thing happened all the time. It was just sort of there was a constant feature of, like, it was kind of a proverb for our generation. Don't sign up for anything because it's going to be impossible to cancel. So that sort of thing does still happen. And again, I'm sorry that you had that experience. I guess I'm hoping that becomes less of a feature of our consumer lives as time goes on. I guess that's the only only silver lining I guess I can really offer there. But if you were managing that credit card company, was there anything in particular that you felt like, would you just wanted to feel like more efficiency, more empathy? Like, what was the defining characteristic of the failure in your mind?
Sure, there's some efficiency, and if it was much quicker, that would have been great. I think there's no clarity, there's no confirmation, follow up, right? So I send in the documentation. There's not a response to say, hey, we've received it, we will review it. None of that, right? So it's just, you send it into this dark hole, and you hope that something comes out on the other side, and it is taken care of. So I think a lot of times communication is the big piece. Just them letting you know, hey, we're working on it. We recognize that it's in front of us, and we're taking care of it.
Yeah, well, first of all, you wonder how much of it is by accident and how much of it is on purpose, and then how much of it is just operational inefficiency.
Sure. Yeah, I was in fact trying to cancel my account, so let that be understood. I'm sure they didn't want to see me go.
Yeah. And then the other aspect of it, communication, I feel like that probably crosses all barriers. Like, it's amazing just how much difference it makes, especially when somebody's running, when something's running behind, to hear, we haven't forgotten about this. We are working on this. Like, those 5 words, 10 words, whatever it is. I feel like that, if you can master the use of those words and just deploy them all the time, I feel like you'll add 5% or 10% to your outcomes just with that alone.
Yes, I promise you, we have that conversation in our office at least once a week, a meaningful conversation about it. Because we have, there's times where we may get, overwhelmed with the amount of workload that's coming in. But it's just a reminder to say, hey, we may not be able to fix this immediately, but we need to keep our customers in the loop. We need to let them know where this stands, and we need to let them know that we're working on it. And if you can do that alone, it puts their mind at ease, and it knows that you're working for them.
People want to be forgiving. They want to be understanding. They want to believe that they want to believe that everyone that they've decided to do business with is doing good business. So you're going to get the benefit of the doubt with those kinds of things. And you get so much latitude if it just the 30 seconds required. Hey, haven't forgotten you. Still care about you. We still want to make sure you're well taken care of. And it's worth the time to make sure that we actually do it right instead of doing a slipshod job and trying to get it done, 2 hours faster or whatever.
Yeah, it goes a long ways. Not all problems can be immediately solved. Sometimes they take time, and just a consistent check in to provide an update, or let them know what's going on. It does go a really long ways.
Jay, what drove you away from the typical corporate climb, from real jobs, as we like to say in the entrepreneurial community? What took you toward what you have done previously entrepreneurially, and then what you're doing now?
Yeah, growing up, I didn't ever realize it at the time, but my dad was in fact a small business owner, and so I grew up in that world, and to me that was normal, and to me I didn't know anything differently, and so that's kind of the first thing, and then my best friend and now business partner, we went to high school together and college, and a lot of times we would go on runs around town, and we would just find ourselves riffing on different business ideas and different ventures and what people should be doing or what we could do. And anyway, as we were graduating college, a venture popped up, and we had the opportunity to jump right into the entrepreneurial life, and it was a lot of fun. And I think the freedom and adventure that comes with it is really cool, and it's something at this point I don't think I could do without. So it's been a blast.
Yeah, I'm a unique one in the entrepreneurial world in that I really don't like the instability. I like stability and security and so forth. And I've just kind of had to come to grips with the fact that that's not going to be part of my experience for the most part. I don't like it, but I have to deal with it. And I guess the flexibility and the freedom is something I enjoy, probably not as much as some. For me, it's more about being able to bet on myself and the people that like I've chosen to put my trust in. People like Cullen, who's helping us with producing this episode, and there are many, many others, of course. But I guess, and just feeling like I can truly steer the ship, and bet on the abilities that I have, and my faith in where I feel like I'm being guided to. I guess that's as much of it as anything for me.
Yeah,
Question? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's a good point, because there have always been, and at times still, where I have these aspirations of having that corporate structure and like guarantee of hey, you're going to come in, you're going to do it, you're going to leave, and so there is something attractive about that. But you're right, like the autonomy, the betting on yourself, that far and away surpasses whatever kind of corporate ladder maybe is out there.
When you guys looked at that opportunity, I don't know what you want to say about about your previous pursuits, but what would you do differently if you were looking at that opportunity now?
Oh gosh, I would probably be terrified at
Yeah.
this point in my life. It's like there's a bit of young and dumb going on at that point. We were still in college. We didn't know anything about the trucking industry, which is what this particular venture was in, and we just really learned as we went. Probably did a lot of things wrong, but slowly, surely figured it out. Um, that's a good question. What we would have done differently? I'll say we did start. We learned quickly. We bought actual trucks and trailers and hired drivers, and it worked really well. But we quickly realized the repairs and maintenance and employees and all these different things were a big liability, and it was quite difficult. So we quickly transitioned to becoming a third party broker, where we eliminated all the assets, all the employees, and we were just really able to do it with a computer and a phone. So that was probably what we would have done differently out of the gate, and something that we soon realized and pivoted in the
Yeah.
first year.
Was there a hardest moment for you as a business owner then up to now? Like, what's been the hardest thing for you to read or hear, kind of going back to the service theme? What was a particularly rough moment for you?
This is just, well, we did have a pretty difficult customer bankruptcy that we had to deal with several years into the business. So, probably like $1 million worth of payables outstanding that we had to work with through bankruptcy courts and so forth. A funnier one that my business partner likes to joke about. I was still in grad school at the time, and so I've had school through the day, and then we're kind of running the trucks and doing all the paperwork at night. And so I would actually at night drive about an hour away to pay our truck driver. So I drive home, and anyway, there were several times where I'm laying on my bed, falling asleep with my computer in hand, because it's just long days, long hours, and he always likes to tell that story. We're just like working so many hours, you just fall asleep right there, computer or book in hand.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a little jealous as an owner of that moment because the other side of that coin is the nights where I think the quote I read once, maybe David, my brother, whom he sent this one to me, and I forget which book it's from, but the quote says, "You're not truly in the game until you have sat awake at night with your head in your hands with no idea what you're going to do." And that one, man, that one speaks to me. I guess we've been fortunate that we've sort of always been able to kind of figure out an answer, but to the instability that we talked about earlier, like there's some times that it just takes like 4 straight hours of just laying awake thinking about it until you figure out, I guess the best thing to do is, ABC or whatever it is. And I guess we'll do that and we'll just see what happens. And it always seems to like kind of work out. But man, there's some touch and go moments.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. There was a time where Case, my business partner, where we moved to the Woodlands together, and we lived together for a time in kind of office right out of our apartment, and several nights where we'd stay up late at night sifting through all these orders and trying to make sense of what we're looking at. And to your point, like, yes, it was stressful and it was long hours, but we kind of got this high from it. Like, it's just the adventure and the unknown and trying to solve the problem. It's really fun. And I that's where that kind of entrepreneurial adventure comes from.
Yeah, without a doubt. The satisfaction of solving the problem, there's nothing quite like it. Like the puzzle, was it heat? The action is the juice. Like the puzzle is the juice. I think for a lot of us, certainly for me, sounds like for you, to like that kind of the eureka moment, or or even the all right, job's done. That moment is it means more, with this kind of job, because the company like either succeeds or fails based on, can you solve the problem, as opposed to kind of, a setting where, you're cog in the machine. And if you don't figure it out, like the consequences are kind of limited. All right, let's let's turn the coin over. What has been the most triumphant private moment? Like sometimes as entrepreneurs, like the moments where we like jump in the air or where we hang up the phone and like do the, do the Tiger Woods in the office or whatever. Like you kind of have to keep that stuff to yourself sometimes. Or maybe there's been a moment of like public celebration, but what was the moment where you like you hung up the phone and you were like, it's working, we're doing this, or you jumped, you made a sale and you jumped in the air. Like what was the most ridiculous thing you did, and what was the success that led to it?
Um, I think the most recent coolest one is just getting a phone call from a development partner of ours. We partnered with them on this new development of theirs, a new community, and it was just really intensive where we help with the branding, marketing, pre-leasing, every aspect, forming the HOA, etc. And so it was this year plus process basically. Um, and so we get to move in day, it goes really well. And you get the phone call to say, hey, we're so grateful and appreciative. It went really well. Um, and just to know that, um, like you basically your entire team did such a great job that then, equated to these investors having a successful project, your residents have this great experience. And so um, was just one of the more meaningful moments for me over the last few years anyway. And one that I'm really proud of, and I often refer back to with Case. And we just we really appreciated that moment.
Yeah, yeah, that's great, man. I'm happy for you guys' success. And then like a service action that you were proudest of from a team member, when somebody did something that like wasn't easy, or like you were like you remember thinking, man, if we can do more stuff like that, we will win.
Yep. So move-in day for us is like the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
right? There's a whole backstory, but we get to this point. It's move-in day, and at this point, more than 1,000 residents will come and move into a property of ours. Um, and so, big day. We have movers on hand, coffee trucks, snow cones, barbecue pits, like you name it, and we're ready to go. We want it to be a positive experience for our residents and their families, and just have this great first impression. So that day comes, um, inevitably things will go wrong. And a dad called our office and was pretty upset that his daughter's room was not meeting his standards in terms of cleanliness. So our leasing manager gets in touch with him, drives him straight to the house, um, says, "Hey, we're very sorry. We're going to get our cleaning crew here, take care of it." So that happens. The dad then calls back and says, "Hey, I appreciate it. Um, Actually, I've been so impressed, with you guys, with the community. I like to have a conversation not just about renting a room for my daughter, but actually buying one of these townhomes from you guys." And so that's when I always like to tell where it's like, "Hey, we're going to turn a bad situation into a great one." Really embodying our core values. And I can't exactly recall who said this initially, but we like to always talk about, hey, service is black and white, hospitality is color. It's like anyone could have gone with a frown on their face and begrudgingly cleaned that room, but how can you do it with a smile on your face to try to make something of it and um, you know have it be a positive outcome for everyone?
Yeah, that's great, man. Congratulations, and very happy for that success for you guys. You have obviously done some great work. All right, now, who, what is a trend that's developing that you don't like? Who do you have a bone to pick with? Who's doing something you don't like to see? What's happening that makes you uneasy from a service perspective, from a social media perspective? You and I are both active on LinkedIn. Like, what are you seeing there that makes you nervous or upset?
Oh, Ben, I'm not confrontational at all, and I so this one is a tough one for me. Uh, I think just going back to black and white versus color. I think anytime I see, especially like service related, if they're just very, it's a transactional mindset. Um, it is black and white. They have no aspirations to take it to the next level. Um, that just doesn't sit well with me. So that's a tough one.
What I hear there is kind of an echo of founder mentality. The Naval quote, people with founder mentality can't rest once a problem or opportunity is identified. They take on personal responsibility without complaint. They learn and recruit new skills as needed, and they deliver results despite politics. And then he finishes by saying there's unlimited global demand for founder mentality, but you got to have that go, you know?
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
I think it's a question of like, who's here to clock in and clock out, and who's here to go solve people's problems. And there's this, like, I feel like there's this relational aspect to it as well. Like there's the, like, do you value the people that you're doing the work for? Do you want them to really be happy, or do you just want to check a box and say, I did enough? And there are limits to that, of course. There are times where you got to say, all right, we have to let enough be enough. But I just feel like it's the mental orientation. You know what I mean?
That's so good. Because you're right. Anyone can check the box. Anyone can be transactional. We hang our hat on being student housing placemakers. And so for us, that's creating places where people want to live, cultivating meaningful relationships amongst residents. What does it look like to love your neighbors? So all those things are really striking a chord with what you're saying, and that's very much of who we want to be and who we just want to continue to try to get better in that way.
I definitely appreciate that. All right, let's close it out. Final questions, 10 words or less. What should people start doing in service?
I'm going to sound like a broken record a little bit, but have a hospitable mindset and use color.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more. I'm going to break my own rule here, and I'm going to let's dig into a little bit. So what is the color? It's the smile on your face, it's the tone of your voice, but like what is the way that you've seen that you've watched it happen, somebody implement that where you were like, yeah, I haven't seen it done quite like that before. Like where the execution of it was particularly like there was some virtuosity or creativity to rendering that color service experience that you were like, if I could bottle it, it would be that. Does that question make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, generally it's going out of your way.
Yeah.
It's thinking out of the box. It's doing something that is not necessarily expected of you, or going beyond. So whether that's, I've mentioned the one instance of our teammate. It is like while you're off the clock on a Saturday and someone needs some help, you're driving in, you're going above and beyond to take care of something. For us, and who some kind of our competitors are a little bit, we really also hang our hat on resident events. And so we try to go above and beyond. We have Thirsty Thursdays where people come in and they get a Sonic drink every Thursday. This week, actually, with new students coming in, is Resident Appreciation Week. And so yesterday it was free Chick-fil-A biscuits. Today is something else. Tomorrow it'll be coffee. And we just are always trying to layer on really cool, meaningful, thoughtful ways to improve our resident experience. And in doing so, it just raises the bar for everyone. It's our team, it's our investors, it's to everyone's benefit.
So what I'm hearing you say there is, it sounds like it's the curation of that experience, and it's the creative process that goes into choosing what are the experiential moments? Like I mean, the classic example of this is Disneyland or Disney World. You walk into a Disney theme park and like your experience has been like creatively thought through. Show up in the parking lot, walking through the gates, getting your tickets, all of that stuff. People thought carefully about what your experience will be like. And there was probably argument about, well, we want to do it this way, we want to do it that way. You guys talked about, all right, is it gonna be Chick-fil-A? Is it gonna be Raising Cane's? Is it gonna be coffee? Like, so I guess the willingness to think critically about what that experience is going to be, and the willingness to be wrong and to say, hey, we actually didn't guess right on this one, and we built an experience that was not what we hoped it would be. Am I kind of walking down the right road there?
That's spot on. One of my favorite companies in the world, and who I often look towards, is a group called Marsh Collective in Opelika, Alabama. And the wife, Ash Marsh, she has this saying, and she says, hospitality is defined as, I thought of you before you got here. And, and we very much think about that in all that we do. And that's kind of what you explained with the Disney World example. We're always checking ourselves with that hospitality definition. We want to think about our residents and what we're offering before we do so they feel loved and appreciated.
That's wonderful. I thought of you before you got here. I love that. And then last question, we didn't get to this one. 10 words or less. What should people stop doing? Do you think there's something that, to give a little color on this, do you think there's something that is well-intentioned where people had the right idea, but it hasn't worked out the way they'd like? And this can be service-oriented, can be social media-oriented, can be business-oriented. What do people need to stop doing?
I'll be redundant a little to say, in 10 words or less, stop being transactional. But I think maybe to dig into that a little bit, in today's age, there is a lot of optimization, there is a lot of automation, and those things are great. Um, as long as you then can layer it on, maybe with a little personal touch, um, to lean in and have a little relational aspect.
I thought of you before you got here instead of I wrote an algorithm for you before you got here.
Yeah.
Jay, really appreciate the insights today. Thank you so much for sharing your time and experience with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's been a blast.
On behalf of Proclaim, and again, with thanks to Jay Maxwell, I'm Ben Wiggins. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.